We are in our series, Forbidden Questions, where we're going through just different questions that most of the time in most churches people are afraid to ask in those questions because they're afraid they're going to get labeled a certain way, or people are going to reject them and be like, you can't talk about that or ask that question because you don't really have faith or whatever else. We're asking them, we're taking a look at them. I'm doing the best I can to kind of give you a biblical understanding and perspective on each of these questions. Today we're going to be looking at this question, which is this: doesn't evolution undermine the Bible? So doesn't the theory of evolution undermine the teachings of the Bible? Now, in our modern world, this just might be the most important question that we're asking in this series. You see, the theory of molecule to man evolution has become a weapon of the non-religious to attempt to destroy the Christian faith. And to be honest with you, they're being fairly effective at it because most people, including most Christians, have no idea what's actually happening. So they are being very effective at it. Understand this: if molecule to man evolution is a fact, then the Bible is literally just a storybook. If it's true, God did not create mankind. We are not made in the image of God. We have no more value than any other living creature. The fall of man never happened. Sin really isn't an issue you need to worry about. Jesus didn't know what he was talking about. Moses didn't know what he was talking about. And the Apostle Paul didn't know what he was talking about, if it's true. If you take all those pieces away from Christianity, you don't really have much left. You just basically have a storybook written by some people over a period of time, and that's what you're left with. You have a regular, ordinary religion, and a religious text that has very little historical weight to it. As a Christian, you have very little actually stand on in your faith if molecule to man evolution is true. Now, I am not a Christian because I wanted to be part of a religion, and I'm not a Christian because I need religion to make myself feel better. I am a Christian because I believe the words of the Bible are actual truth. That's why I am a Christian. So when we ask the question of this, doesn't evolution undermine the Bible? What we have to do first is look at the reliability of the claims of molecule. This is going to get rough today, saying this one 20 times over. Molecule to man evolution, which a majority of people in our society today actually accept as truth. Here's some of the claims that they say are facts if you believe this theory. They claim that these to be facts. Number one, the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and they will tell you this is basically the most reliable figure they have, that they know this one to be true. The Earth is 4.3 billion years old, that they feel pretty confident on as well. Dinosaur fossils are hundreds of millions of years old. Mankind is just a random extension of evolution, that we came from just a progression like everything else, and that they know how evolution works, that small changes over long periods of time become major changes. Those are all things that they say are facts. Now, my goal today is not to convince you that the Bible is 100% scientifically provable fact. There are reasons we talk about faith when we come to church and talk about the Christian belief, because there are some things that can't be proven scientifically. But I want you to know as well, our faith is not a blind faith, but rather it's a faith that's built upon a series of trustworthy events, outcomes, and logical thought. My goal today is to show you that the evolutionary theory isn't what it claims to be, and there is no reason that you should be trusting its claims over the claims of the Bible. All right? That's what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, here's the thing. Molecule to man evolutional theory is mostly built upon storytelling and the manipulation of the public, and today I will clearly show you how they do it. Their main technique is this. What they do is that anything that confirms their theory, or they think confirms their theory, they publish, they communicate, they get out into the public view, and they let you know about it. And then they take it to our schools, and they start teaching our kids from the time they enter kindergarten and they start growing up. And then what they do is any evidence that refutes their theory and undermines their theory, they hide from you. They don't talk about it, they don't put it in books, they don't do anything with it, they hide it from the public. Then what they do, it's not just that far, then what they do is this: any theory, and it's not just Christian theories, there's a lot of scientists that aren't evolutionists that aren't Christians either. Anyone that has a theory that is different from theirs or opposes their theory, what they do is anything that supports those theories, they actually hide from the public. And anything that seems to undermine those theories, they let you know about. And they put it out there for you to see. So we are all very familiar with this technique of manipulation. We just don't think the scientific community actually engages in it. For instance, we see this manipulation all the time in the political areas of our lives, okay? So if I were to say to you, if you go watch Fox News, what are you going to usually get? You're going to get a Republican view of things, right? They're going to try and make Republican stuff look better than it is and report all the good things, and they're going to hide the bad things from you. And they're going to take anything from the Democrats and highlight the things that are bad about them and hide the good things about them. At the same time, if you go watch ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, what are you going to get? The Democratic view of things and a bias, right? They're going to highlight anything that makes Democrats look good, and they're going to hide anything that looks bad to them, and they're going to make Republicans are going to emphasize anything that looks bad to them, and they're going to hide anything that looks good. Okay? We are all very aware of this form of manipulation. We just thought it only happens in politics. And I'm letting you know it doesn't just happen in politics, it happens in science as well. Now, the molecule to man evolutionary theory has two pillars that it will protect at all costs. And I mean all costs. They will not let these things fail. That small changes become major changes over, and the second thing, extremely long amounts of time. If either one of those pillars falls, their entire theory is finished. It's over with. And I'll just give you a little spoiler alert here. It's not long before this theory is gone anyways, so somewhere within the next 20 to 25 years, it's going to be obsolete because as we attain more evidence, and there's more and more of that theory that's being undermined by that evidence, they can only hide the crippling issues for so long. So they can only keep it away from the public for so long. So this morning, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to share with you some of the things the scientific community is hiding from the public that you never get to hear about because they know it causes huge issues with this theory of evolution. And the reason that they hide this stuff is they're trying to keep it under wraps so they can come up with new stories. So when they actually do release the information, they can already put a spin on it to make you go, oh, this is why we had it wrong or why we had this issue, so they can put a new template behind it. Now, I only have about 25 minutes this morning, but I'm going to add some of John's, so I might get maybe 30 out of it. But, okay, I don't have a ton of time, so understand what I'm doing here is a very, very basic, brief overview, because some of you that don't really care about science are going to get bored anyways and be like, I don't really care. But you should care because this is important. I'll explain it at the end why it's important. On your program, I put a couple of links on there that you can go to. The one on the bottom, it says like the Bible for debunking evolution. It's a gray paper. If you like science, it's probably about 85 pages, and then it's probably another 80 pages of documentation of all the things they say from different research papers. It's a great document, though, if you're really into this and you'd like to know more of the information. It does a great job scientifically explaining that. But I'm going to go through some of the things today, of the things that are being hidden from you. Here's the other thing I ask. Do not discount me as a nut. Okay? Because here's the deal. We live in a society today, if you doubt evolution as being factual, they call you a science denier. And this is what I talk about where they demonize the opposition because they don't want those views to be out there. You're a science denier, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't follow science, you don't accept accepted science. I'm going to show you today why they have to demonize you and why they hide stuff, because their theories aren't as good as they make you think they are. All right? So here are the things we're going to go through. The first thing, the age of the universe. Okay, the age of the universe, they tell you, is 13.8 billion years old. The thing you don't know as a public, there's a ton of assumptions built into that. And actually, this whole thing just fell apart 5 weeks ago, and it's the greatest thing that's ever happened. So here we go. Let me just read to you from two news articles. The first one is from Forbes magazine article from October 21st, 2017, so about a year and a half ago, okay? It is titled, How Sure Are We the Universe is 13.8 billion years old? It's by a man named Ethan Segal. He's a PhD, an astrophysicist, okay? So this is a guy, this is his field. He knows this well. He's one of the leading scientists in this realm. Here are some of the quotes from his story a year and a half ago that he wrote for Forbes magazine. He says, "You've no doubt heard that the universe itself has been around for about 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang, and that scientists are extremely confident that of that figure. In fact, the uncertainty of that figure is under 100 million years, less than 1% of the estimated age." That sounds pretty confident, right? The guy's going, we know exactly how old it is. We're so confident we know within 100 million years that we're within the right realm, okay? We're only off at the most by 100 million years, which is only 1% error, potential error, all right? Here's another quote from that same one. What's unlikely, however, is that there's going to be a major revision of this 13.8 billion year figure. He's going, this isn't going to change. And I deal in this realm all the time. I have a professor at Berkeley that I talk to all the time, or used to, because he deleted me 5 weeks ago when the news changed on it. And when I send him the article, he just deleted me so we can't have a conversation. Because for 10 years, he's been telling me, you're a science denier because you won't accept even the most basic facts. And one of the most basic facts is the age of the universe. Okay, so here's the last thing he says in his article. When it comes to the age of the universe, after a millennia of wondering, humanity finally has an answer it can trust. Sounds confident, right? So we know the universe is 13.8 billion years old. Okay, here's the problem. AP News article, April 26th of this year, 5 weeks ago. Dr. Adam Rees, who won the Nobel in Physics in 2011, had to publish a story because people who do not believe in evolution started to get this information as well, and they had to get out in front of it, so they had to publish this even though they've had this information for about 6 to 8 months. Here's his article that he says. He says, the universe is expanding faster than it used to, meaning it's about 1 billion years younger than we thought. Now they're placing it at 12.5 billion years old, but really they don't know what it is now because he says this, it's sending a shudder through the world of physics, making astronomers rethink even their most basic concepts. Here's what they found out 6 weeks ago that they finally published. They've known for about 6 to 8 months. The universe is expanding faster than they assumed it was, and now all their calculations are off and gone. So they're 13.8 billion years, no longer good. They've already taken 1 billion years off, but the guy a year and a half ago said they're within 100 million years. They've already cut 1 billion off instantly. Now, let me tell you how this works to the public. How many of you have heard that? Well, my family. Okay, there's a few of you that heard this, okay? They didn't publish this other than a few articles. Now, here's what really happened. It gets even worse. When I first read this day, because this has been one of the things my friend, the professor at Berkeley, has always told me I'm an idiot on. I said, well, when that date changes, I'll send you the link. And I've said that for 10 years. And I said, the day has happened, and I sent the link, and then he deleted me, so I can't communicate with him anymore. Okay, here's what I did. That day, I got those links. I started, where you bookmark them in your browsers, okay? When I was doing research for this 5 weeks later, I started going back and trying to get the bookmarks. They deleted like half of the original stories that came out. So if you go Google this, that the universe is expanding faster, it will take you to a link, and then it won't show you anything. It's just gone. It's been erased. They erased it. The other thing they've done, the few I had, they edited their stories and then tell you they edited the original story. Because in the original story, they all talked about how they've already taken 1 billion years off. They've now deleted that because they knew the public who read that would go, you were wrong about the age. They got rid of that, so you can't even find that number in it anymore, except for the one link I put in the bulletin. If you scan that little icon there on your phone, it will take you to the article if they haven't deleted out that one yet. That one mentions at one point, what they've done is they started talking about the 9% increase in the speed of the universe, and we found out the universe is expanding faster than it was before by about 9% at this point, from the best we can tell. And the reason they do that is if you read that, you go, okay, no big deal. If I read that, I go, what? 9%? You just shrunk the timeline of the universe by a major amount. When people hear the numbers, then they go, wait, there's a problem. So they erase the thing that would have put red flags up to the public. And wait a second, how do I trust anything now that that's all off? So that's how they manipulate the things, is they hide it, they change things, they take articles back down, so you don't see them because they start to realize what they just put out in that article undermines everything else they believe, okay? That is that. Here's the next one, Big Bang. You've all heard of Big Bang. There's a great show. It's been on, I didn't ever watch it. It's a great show. I can't vouch for that. It's a show that's had high ratings for like 10 years. So how many of you watch Big Bang? Okay, so you got shows like that. You got the Big Bang. You get the stuff taught to you. The whole thing with the Big Bang, there are huge, monstrous holes in this theory, and they've known this for decades, but yet they still preach it as if it's a fact, and they still put it in all of our textbooks and teach our kids as if it's a known fact. The biggest issue is called what's the horizon problem. I'm not going to explain all the details because you get bored. Oh, I'm telling you to do this. Go to Google, type in horizon problem, read about it. It discounts the entire theory of the Big Bang. The Big Bang can't be the way they say it happened because of the horizon problem. The horizon problem very simply just says this. They've started to look in all the directions of the universe, and the heat is equally dispersed throughout the universe. And it's not physically possible in the Big Bang Theory. So what do? They just ignore it. Here's what they say. This is a scientist talking about this problem, the horizon problem. Here's his comments. Dr. Alex Campbell says, so what are we to do with these major holes in our arguably most important theory? I'm trying to sound smart to you because they always want you to think they're smart and you're stupid if you don't listen to them. He says, so what are we supposed to do about these major holes in our arguably most important theory? Do we dismiss it and find a new theory? Well, yeah, if you're a normal person and you find out your theory doesn't work, you dismiss it and you go think up a new theory. That's typically how it works. Okay? He says this, no, of course not. We go further in attempting to explain our theory. So basically he goes, we know it's wrong, but we have to have it, so we're just going to keep going down that hole. So even though we know we can't explain it and the horizon problem blows it to pieces, we're still going to believe it and just keep going with it and trying to explain it because we have to have it. All right, here's the next thing, the tree of life illustrations. How many of you know the tree of life illustrations? Remember getting them in your textbook with the little trees and they put animals on, all the little tree branches, and they draw the animals. The whole thing with the tree of life, it's been destroyed by molecular biology. They now know that does not work. The grand tree of life illustrations you all got was a hoax. It wasn't real. It's a storybook that they wrote for you and put in your books, and they still teach it to our kids today. It's still in our kids' textbooks today, and there is zero evidence to actually support the whole thing. In fact, the evidence actually shows that illustrations are completely and utterly wrong. And so what they have done now is they've come up with a different way of trying to explain it. And instead of a tree, now what they have is about 8 different circles like this. And you can't see the details on it, but they try to place animals in there, but there are 8 circles, 7 or 8, they're not sure how many right now, 7 or 8 circles that are all independent of each other because life didn't start on its own once. Now because of molecular biology, it had to have started at least 7 or 8 times all by itself to start different chains. And so they have these different wheels, these different circles, and that's how they describe it now, but they only do that in the scientific community because you look at it and go, wait, that's not what you told me before. So in your textbooks and stuff, guess what they still use? The tree. And the tree has no sense, it makes no sense. It was a storybook. It was something they were just telling you. The next one, how many of you have ever heard of dark matter and dark energy? Raise your hand if you know this one. Okay. You've heard of dark matter, dark energy. I had too. I didn't really know what it was. And then I found out it's insanity, all right? So when you hear dark energy and dark matter, I took some quotes from a peer-published scientific paper on dark matter and dark energy. I'm going to read you some of the quotes, and here are the quotes. Dark matter and dark energy constitute 95% of the forces that hold the universe together. Don't read the next part yet. Sounds pretty confident, right? No, 95% of the universe is composed of dark matter and dark energy, okay? Next thing, dark matter is a mysterious form of matter yet to be directly observed that contains 95% of the mass of the known universe. So that part of the same paper sounds like we really don't know what this is or how it works. The next quote, dark matter, we believe, they don't know now, same paper, dark matter, we believe, coexists with normal matter, but we still don't know what it is. What? All right, carrying on. Assuming that dark matter exists, wait a second, what? Assuming that dark matter exists and that it is a new kind of particle, it is probably created during the first instances of the universe. Are you starting to go, maybe they don't know what they're talking about yet? Are you starting to feel that? Okay, when you read, here's the last part. We know our universe consists of approximately 68% dark energy, 27% dark matter, 4.9% normal matter, blah, 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 blah. So then they end it with, we know this to be true, all right? Let me tell you what dark matter and dark energy is in a second, because here's what another scientist says. The last quote is not from that paper. It's just another scientist looking at this theory of dark matter and dark energy, and he says, the theory of dark matter and energy has a glaring flaw. We can't find it. Let me tell you what it is. It's imaginary. What happened was they can't get numbers to work out the way they want, and nothing made sense, so they created something. And what they created was dark matter and dark energy that don't exist, that have no proof of. There's no reason to assume it other than our calculations aren't working the way we want them to work. So we need, and this is what they call it if you read scientific papers, fudge numbers. That's what it is. It's fudge numbers. So that they can make their numbers equal what they want their numbers to be. So they've created this theory of dark matter and dark energy that they have no proof of, never observed, don't even know it exists because it's an imaginary thing. But now if they put these numbers in, it makes their numbers work the way they want them to work. That's what dark matter and dark energy is. When they tell you and you hear about it, they act like it's just a factual thing, like dark matter and dark energy. And they'll talk about, we're trying to find it right now. We've built this thing and we're trying to find it. You don't even know if it exists. You created it. It's a fudge number to make your calculations work. That's dark matter, dark energy. Okay. Sorry, if you don't know, I love this area. This is what I debate in all the time. This is stuff I'm dealing with. So whether you enjoyed it or not, I'm enjoying myself. So here we go. Next one, radiometric dating. This is how they get dates on specifically more so rocks, some fossils and stuff like that. Again, in this, there's a ton of assumptions associated with it, with the radiometric dating. What it is everything has some different radiated elements to it, radiation elements to it, and those things slowly disappear out of whatever element you're trying to test, and then they have assumptions based on how much they find in like a rock or something to predate it back to figure out how old something is. Here's some of their problems that they don't tell you about, but these are, you just go on the internet and you can find this stuff, okay? Lava samples from Mount St. Helens 1986 eruption. How many of you remember that? I don't. Okay, 1986 it erupted. They've dated the rocks that erupted to lava from that, so they know they're fresh rocks, so they're dating them the way that we're told to date them. They're being dated at 350,000 years old. You tell me how that works, okay? Here's the other one. Lava samples from Mount Narago in New Zealand. It erupted in 1977. I was only 2 years old, so I don't remember this one either. But they had the lava there, so they know exactly when it happened, so they know 1977. Those rocks are being dated at somewhere around 3.7 million years old. They're 50 years old. They're 13.7. You can go find this stuff. You just got to go research on the internet. You can find all this stuff. There's no debate about it. They just go, oh, you can't listen to that. This is stupid, people. No, it's been tested by independent laboratories. It's been sent all over the place. We know this to be true. The next one, you all know this, carbon-14, right? You've all heard of carbon-14 dating. This is of the radiometric dating, this is the one that most people are familiar with. Here's a couple of things about carbon-14. It has a half-life of 5,730 years. What that means is in 5,730 years, every 5,730 years, half of carbon-14 exits whatever the dead thing is, exits out of it. So it goes in half each time. So the way they can date things is they can look how much is in it, how much they assumed it started with, and then they can just count backwards and go, oh, we know this thing is so many years old, okay? That's how they do it. Anything older than about 75,000 years should have no detectable carbon-14 in it because its half-life is so quick it should be gone, and there's no way to get any detectable carbon-14 in anything that's dead at that point past 75,000 years, okay? Now, to give you an idea what that means, if you took a lump of carbon-14, the size of the Earth, okay, so the entire Earth was carbon-14, in 1 million years, there would be nothing left. In 1 million years, because of the half-life span, it would be gone. So you take a carbon-14 piece, the size of the Earth, in 1 million years, it's gone. It's disappeared. There's no way to detect it anymore. It's vanished. Here's the problem they have run into that they aren't telling you about. And multiple tests at multiple labs to make sure there weren't errors. Coal, that our scientific community has told you is 250 to 350 million years old, they're finding detectable carbon-14 in. And this isn't rare, this is common now, okay? Diamonds, which they date at 1 to 3 billion years old, has detectable carbon-14 in it. Okay, there's no refuting it now. It has detectable, which means at the oldest, it could be at 75,000 years, according to carbon-14 dating. They have them dated at 1 to 3 billion years. They don't tell you about this stuff. This isn't stuff they put out in public. You can find all this on the internet. You just got to go search. You can find the scientific papers that talk about all this stuff. Here's the next one. This is the big one, and this one's kind of cool. Dinosaur dating, okay? Major issues at this point in dinosaur dating. Here's the thing. In 2004, a 68 million year old T-Rex, or they say 68 million years old, T-Rex, they cut it in half to transport it. Inside it, they found soft tissue and red blood cells of a T-Rex. How many of you know this? One. Well, I know my son does too. Two, okay? This is huge. Oh, Christian does too. This is huge. There is soft tissue and red blood cells inside dinosaur bones that they say are 68 million years ago. Until 2010, for 6 years, The scientific community hid this information and spent their effort coming up with alternative ideas in order to dismiss why the issue or why the tissue was fake, and that the actual scientist who found it was faking it. Okay? The problem is she's an evolutionist and she still believes that dinosaurs are 6 to 8 million years old, and she's not a creationist. She doesn't believe a biblical point of view. So they were trying to dismiss her stuff as fake, and she was trying to help them, and they couldn't find it. Since then, in the last 9 years, they have found multiple examples of soft tissue and dinosaur bones because now they're opening them up to see if it's there. Here's why they never found it. When they were getting dinosaur bones, nobody wanted to hurt them or do anything, so they're super careful with them. You never cut them in half to see what's inside or anything. Now, 9 years later, multiple examples of soft tissues and dinosaur bones. Up to dinosaur bones they claim are 247 million years old, and it is now recognized in the scientific communities as a common phenomenon. Okay, which is they're going, no, this happens, we're finding this now. We're finding soft tissue and red blood cells inside dinosaur bones. Now, real quick to you, do you think there could be soft tissue and stuff that's 247 million years old? Just asking you. Okay, I'm just asking, common sense here. What does the scientific community do with this? This is a quote from the actual scientist who discovered the first stuff in 2004. Here's her quote. If particles of one dinosaur were able to hang around for 65 million years, maybe the textbooks were wrong about fossilization. Okay? No, lady, maybe the problem is it's not 65 million years old. But they look at that because you can't have that as a possibility. It has to be fossilization. So instead of studying issue that is there now, and maybe they're dating things that have all these issues, what they're doing is trying to figure out how it can actually stay soft for 65 million years. And you're going, yeah, show me that one. They can't figure it out. They have no clue. But that's the route they're going with it, because they realize this destroys their entire theory. Here's the last thing I'm going to share with you. So if you're getting bored of it, I'm sorry, but I love this stuff. All right? Here we go. The entire theory of evolution, which is small changes become major changes over extremely long periods of time. This doesn't even pass common sense, to be honest with you, if you really think about it. Let me give you the most devastating one. Sexual reproduction destroys the entire theory. They have no answers to it. What they do is they just ignore it totally. They don't deal with sexual reproduction because they have no answers for it, and they know they aren't going to find any that make any sense. Let me explain. In sexual reproduction, what you'd have to have is living creature one, okay, so A, over here that has had asexual reproduction, which means it reproduces on its own. In one lifetime, produce a male and a female for the first time, species together, a male and a female. Now, if you're sitting next to someone of the opposite sex, you understand there's lots of physical things different from each other. You understand that? Okay, there's lots. It's not just one thing that makes you different. There's all sorts of things that make us different. We have different body parts. We have different internal body parts. We have all sorts of different things about us, okay? So creature A has to create two new creatures, B and C, one male, one female, that the only way they can continue to reproduce, those two then have to come together to continue the species, and they have to produce more of that B and C, and they know to come together, and they have to come together to continue the species. If it doesn't work on the first try, what do you have? Extinction. That animal's gone. It doesn't exist anymore, okay? So in short, what you have to have, because of sexual reproduction, is you have to have major changes in extremely short amount of times, one lifetime. You have to have vast amounts of changes from species A and the two new ones in one lifetime, creating two brand new animals that can only reproduce together to keep the species going in one lifetime. So it's massive change, extremely short amount of time. And if this happened over and over again, which they say would have to, with all the creatures that reproduce their male and female reproduction, then why don't we see it today? Because it has to happen in one lifetime. Why aren't we still seeing that evolution around us all the time where something's shifting in one lifetime and it's producing two brand new offspring that we're going, we've never seen these things before. Holy cow, how did it do that? Why don't we see it today? Here's the other thing. There's absolutely no verifiable in-between fossils, which they call missing links, to support this theory. They should be everywhere, even in present times, yet there's zero fossil record to support this theory of seeing small changes over long periods of time. Even Darwin himself knew this was a huge problem to his theory. Here's what Darwin said in his Origins of Species. He said this: geology assuredly does not reveal such finely graduated organic change. So he says geology doesn't back up my theory. We're not finding it in the geology, in the bones and the rock. We're not seeing what I say is true, we're not seeing it in geology. And he says, and this, perhaps, is the most obvious and gravest objection that can be urged against my theory. So Darwin went, the fossils, all that stuff doesn't back up my theory. So obviously that's the greatest thing people can attack me with right from the start. And it's the thing that can be urged against my theory. Even Darwin knew right from the start, there's major problems with this whole theory. So what has happened is this, a new theory of evolution is starting to take hold, and it's called punctuated equilibrium. I can't even get it now. Now I'm done. So I've had to say so much. Okay, I'm trying to speed through this as fast as I can so I don't steal all of your time today. But here's what this theory says. Their new theory is, because they know the fossil record's not backing it up, that evolution, what happens is it happens in very compact times, and then it just stops. So you see major changes over just like 1,000 years, and everything all at once changes really quick, and then it stops and everything just continues on. And the reason we don't have fossil record is because those windows are so narrow, there's not enough time to really see the fossils of them. And that's why the fossil records don't back it up. So that's becoming the more mainstream theory of evolution at this point, is all of living things evolve very quickly together, and it's just like they just stop. And then they do that from time to time, and they just all evolve again together, and then they just stop, and they evolve together again, and they stop. Now, I give you these terms because you can go research these things on the internet and see all these things for yourself. So let me close by saying this morning. Evolution is what's called historical science, okay? It's different than experimental science. It's different than mechanical science. It's different than biology. It's different than physics. It's not those things. It's a historical science, and what that means is historical science is using evidence that's found in the present to tell a story about what happened in the past. Now, the point of today is not to give you scientific proof. The Bible story is how it all happened. Because to be honest with you, the creationist view, the Bible view, there's issues with that too. So there's evidence that makes you go, how does that work? Okay? That's there as well. The point is, it lets you know that you don't need to throw away your biblical account in favor of the evolutionary account. In my opinion, in the opinion of many scientists, the Bible account of things explains all the evidence more consistently and much better than the evolutionary explanation does. When you look at all the evidence combined. Evolutionary scientists start with the basis that there is no creator, and so they create a story that conforms to that view, and then they try to make the evidence fit that story. That's why you get things like dark matter and dark energy. Because what they want to be the end result isn't there, so they've created something, the fudge factor, to throw in there to make it work the way they think it should work. On the other side, biblical scientists start from the basis there is a creator who then told us how the basics of everything happened, and so they look to explain the evidence that we find currently within that narrative. So to boil it all down, there's a very basic question to some degree that you can ask, which is this: who is starting from the correct starting point? Who is starting with the original correct view of how things started? Do you believe it's more logical to think that there is a creator who started everything? Or do you think it's more logical to believe that something, or better, everything, came from nothing? And that's really what it comes down to. Which is more logical? To believe there's a creator who started everything and designed everything, or that everything we know and the designs and everything started from nothing? Just poof. It just started out of nowhere, without any design, without any... Which is more logical to you? If you know what that answer is, then you should have no fear, if you believe the creator part makes more sense, of standing on the biblical account. As a person who debates in this constantly with scientists, with people in this field as well, I can just tell you this: you don't have to be ashamed to say you believe in a biblical view of things. The evidence actually points a lot more to that than it does the evolutionary ones. The only issue is you're not told about it. So as a society, you are constantly being manipulated to go, these are the things that support, and there's nothing that doesn't support it. And the things that don't support it, we hide from you. And the creationists over here, look at this thing. This causes their heads to spin. Absolutely it does. That thing causes my head to spin. And then they report that to you and go, see, crazy people. But then they don't report the 50 things that confirm their theory that there is a creator, and they hide it. So the whole purpose of today is this: is evolution undermine the teachings of the Bible? No. No reason to go, I believe evolution, over the teachings of the Bible. The Bible makes more logical sense. It explains the vastness of all the evidence we have in a better picture than does evolution. Is there problems here? Yeah, there is. Is there problems here? Absolutely. No one's 100% sure why. It's historical science. The only way we would know is if you actually had someone there that was there when it happened and said, this is how it happens. Well, guess what, church? That's what we believe. That the God who did start it all has communicated with us and said, I was there, I did it, here's how it happened. That's something to put your faith in a lot more than evolution. Would you pray with me? Heavenly Father,